Have you ever wondered what it takes to successfully raise money? I have worked with hundreds of capital campaigns across dozens of industries, and I'm here to share with you proven methods for raising money in record time and at the lowest cost, while also obtaining capital at the lowest price. My name is Karl Dakin, and welcome to Motivated Money. Hello, this is Karl Dakin with the Motivated Money podcast. This is where we talk about raising capital from the perspective of entrepreneurs, nonprofit organizations, and community projects. And our goal in this program is try to share with you some of the knowledge that we've gained in working with hundreds of different capital campaigns. And today we have with us William. Is it William or Will?
Either one sounds great.
Either one sounds great. So we'll go with William because it sounds kind of British or something. Anyway, the good news is that William, as the guest here today, wears two hats. He is a business person who is involved with and working with a variety of businesses, including those who are raising capital, but he is also an investor in his own right. So he's out there making investment decisions that may impact you if you came to him and asked him for money. So we're going to dance back and forth between these two hats and see where there's commonality or where there's confusion. And from this, hopefully you'll get a better understanding about the mindset of a person who is an angel investor, but also looks at the investment as a business person. So, William, tell me about who you are, what you do.
Sure. So I'm the CEO of Elumynt, which is spelled Elumynt. A little bit funny, branding issue, right? But we run advertising for e-commerce stores. We do it in a very different way, though. So a lot of agencies are looking at ROAS or return on ad spend or something like that. With about half of our clients or so, we're actually getting their P&L and we're optimizing around Ebitda because we found that that's the most effective way for us to reach a lot of their goals. Through that method, we've helped 13 clients get acquired. The largest sold for $800 million. We sold another one to GoDaddy. And so there's a lot of different things that we're doing that we're thinking helps position these companies to be able to reach the goals that they want to do.
And that's an interesting approach to this because quite often ad agencies, people who work with PR promotion and so forth, we often, ask the question, what is the metric? Is there a metric for measuring success or performance? And here you're working with the bottom line.
Right.
And the bottom line is the bottom line. It is a hard metric. It's one that everybody uses. So we can argue about how many impressions we made or how many followers we have or any number of other things, which mean absolutely nothing a lot of the time. But the impact on the bottom line is where it all comes down. Now, with that then, how do you put together an ad campaign?
Yeah. So a lot of this comes down to understanding the goal of the company. Some companies, let's say that they might have really large, diverse SKU counts, 20,000 SKUs. And within there, some of these might have really high margins and some have really low margins. And one of the ways we can help them from a profit perspective is to say, look, that $100,000 that they spent on ads, some of that may have gone to products that they actually ended up losing money on by the time that it was said and done. And so part of what we're doing is let's optimize the ad spend to go towards the products that you make the most profit off of. That might not always be the one that's the highest cost though. And so sometimes you can think, oh, that's that $500 one. And for a lot of advertising, people say, okay, it's ROAS, which is the advertising revenue divided by the advertising spend. But the problem is maybe that $500 product, maybe that only had $100 in actual profit off of it. Whereas maybe the $300 product had $150 worth of profit off of it. Well, one's going to get a higher ROAS, and so that agency is going to pat themselves on the back, but they made you less profit.
Yeah, so this is a common problem for entrepreneurs, particularly when they get into what I call a service or support service, where the metrics may not be something to understand. A metric may be thrown out there that appears to be an industry standard, but at the end of the day, you go, that really isn't the metric I need to be using. And so it's very important as you start talking with different specialists, different people, to make sure you understand how they measure success and how their measurement of success drops to your bottom line and impacts what you do. Because yes, we see a lot of times I'm working with a startup company and they go, here's the application of this new innovation we're going to do. And I go, why did you select that one? And they'll go, well, it impacts the most people. And I'm going, and what is the time cost of money to get this to the market? And it'll be a big number. And then I'll go, is there a lower hanging fruit? And they're going, well, yeah, there's a smaller market over here. We're going to make less money. And I said, but what is the cost time and money gets to that market? And they stop and they go, well, it's actually pretty easy. I call my cousin Benny.
Sure. Yeah.
And
He's always good for it.
yeah, and Benny's always good for this, and he takes care of it. It won't cost us hardly anything. And I said, so you can prove success in one market, which may actually reflect positively on all the other markets, and you can be there next week as opposed to in your lifetime.
Sure.
And we have these kind of conversations because again, I'm here to help businesses raise money, and people go, well, then I have invited to speak to a group in environmental products, and they go, what's your record of success? And it's probably about 20%, and the whole room went quiet. And then afterwards, they go, that's awful. I go, oh, it's actually better than most people.
Sure.
And I said, it depends on what you're measuring here. I said, if you're saying, what is the success ratio? Yeah, it sounds bad, but it's better than the 98% failure rate of pitching to an angel investor.
Sure.
And they're like, yeah, if you think about it, I'm 10 times better than the angel rate. And they're, oh, I said, yes, I would love to be better.
Right.
But I work with everybody that walks in the door. And some of them have a high probability of success, some don't. But again, we shouldn't be measuring dollars necessarily as we should be measuring capital. And quite often, everybody gets hung up on capital. They go, I need to go raise money. Since I need money, I'm going to go talk to an angel. I'm going to talk to an angel who doesn't know me. I get turned down. I might raise the money, whatever. But when I get the money, what am I going to do with it? I'm going to spend it on these following things: people, equipment, facilities, and so forth. So I often advocate, let's set the angels thing aside for a moment. Let's talk about getting an investment directly from whoever provides whatever you need. And sometimes we find magic happening at that point.
Yeah.
I had a guy come to me and he says, well, I need X number of dollars because I need to rent this warehouse because we're growing up for a sign. And I said, what city are you in? And he told me, and I said, well, you do know that almost every city has 2 or 3 buildings they own that they don't want to own, and they'll let you have it for free or for cheap just to advance the local economy. And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, hold on a moment. I looked on my phone. I says, call this guy and ask him, Vinny. Yeah, Vinny. It was Vinny again. And Vinny goes, yeah, we have 3 buildings. We'd be happy to talk to him about giving him a 1-year lease for almost nothing. And I said, so you want to go out and raise all this money and spend it on this? Or can you go to the city who wants you to succeed because it's in their interest for you to succeed, and they have a free building for you? Your choice. I mean, you can go any direction you want.
Smart.
This is all about raising capital. And so advertising is one of the ways you grow your business. And this is by letting people know who don't know you that you exist, that you have something they would find of value, and communicating that to them effectively.
Right.
And as simple as I made that statement, it's not.
No. But there are some tips and tricks though. So, let's just say that you're trying to get acquired by maybe a certain industry or something along those lines. Or let's even say, I'm trying to think of a good example. You're trying to get your product into Target or something, right? Well, one of the tricks that we'll use here is we'll say, okay, great. You've got this article here that just came out about you really positively, and this one, and and they're talking really good about you. We're going to make sure that we put all of those on to Facebook ads, and we're going to target people who work at Target corporate headquarters, and we're going to make sure that they're just inundated with all these positive messages about you. And then when you go talk to Target and say, hey, we'd love to get our product in you. Well, now they know who you are, and they go, well, I've been seeing a lot of really good stuff about you, and it makes it look even bigger than what you are, right? So there's a lot of ways that you can use the advertising to try to accomplish other goals besides just selling products.
Right. I mean, and in raising capital, we look at all the different media communication. And one of the ways is, well, you could go buy a placement ad.
Sure.
Okay. Or you could go talk to the editor and get written up as a feature article. And the odds of them reading a feature article in the magazine are somewhat higher than what they would be on reading the ad on the opposing page in full color, most beautifully designed thing. And do the eyeballs ever cross it and register that it's there? Whereas the feature article takes a different position. So this all gets into using your money effectively. Don't assume if you've never done advertising that it's straightforward and simple. There are tips and tricks. There's ways to save money, get the most bang for your buck. And all those come back and reflect upon you as an owner manager of business. Um, there's nothing makes an investor happier than the fact that you can take their dollar and stretch it into what would have otherwise been a $10 purchase.
Sure.
Because they're going, if he can do that with that little amount of money and give him, imagine what it could do with more.
Well, that's a big part of what we do. And since we're optimizing around Ebitda, we can show that, hey, you take, the people that we work with are typically spending maybe $100,000 a month in ads. If you could take that $100,000 and you can turn that into $500,000, and you can show that, hey, there's a path towards significant growth. Well, then it's a matter of, well, what can you do with 200,000? What could you do with 300,000? What could you do with 500, 100, 1 million, whatever that number is? And that makes investors a lot more excited because they say, well, I am not a for sure thing, but it's like, well, I can see that you've got a path towards turning this money into something more, which is exciting.
Yeah. And again, back into working through your capital campaign strategy, thinking through your lifetime cycle with your business. Go to your advertising agency and say, what can you do for me with $100,000? You just got me $500,000 in new sales. I might be $250,000 in profits off of those sales. Everything's looking good. Because you did that before you raise more money, you go back to the investors and look how good I did with just $100,000. I'm going to raise the price of my stock.
Right.
I'm going to give up less equity because I've demonstrated that I'm a good manager of this business. And so instead of raising all the money up front and pushing it all through the system, you do it in stages. And now you come back with cheaper money and you spend it on the advertising and you get more results.
Right.
And you go back if you need to. And in a lot of companies, it's not uncommon for companies I work with go to 3, 4, or 5 stages of capital over a period of years. As they prove their points, they hit their milestones, and they get bigger. Now, somewhere along this path, they may get into a point where somebody wants to acquire them, and that's a different transaction.
Sure.
I'll save that for another day. So you as an angel investor, when you look at the deal, what's the first thing that captures your attention?
So I think the thing about this is that I'm not a full-time angel, right? I have a full-time job and I an angel on the side. And so the thing that captures it for me is something that is different than what I'm doing on a daily basis, but I'm just excited about from a future perspective. And I wish I had more time to get involved, but since I can't get involved, I want to invest in it because I think it's the future. And so one of these deals that I just did recently is a really cool VR company up in Toronto. The name is still undisclosed right now. I can't get into it a whole lot, but the idea is they're really pioneering a lot of new mechanics and movements within the VR world, which is still a very, very new thing. I love this. And it's something that I think very, very soon is going to become a massive thing. Apple's coming out with their VR headsets as well. And so I think it's on the path towards success. And I wish I had more time to invest in it, but I don't have the time to invest. I can invest some money and still be a part of it, right? So for me, part of it, just the excitement and enjoyment of being that. But from a more practical perspective, I actually know whether or not a company is doing a decent job with the money that they're doing. And it's like, well, can they turn that into more users, more revenue, more profit, more anything? I can look at that and actually analyze that a lot. I'm not going to be the best at saying, are they asking for the right price necessarily, right? And that's where as an angel, I'm not nearly as experienced with that. But I think the other part that I really am looking at that I've learned from a lot of the PE groups and the VCs that I work with and talk to is who is leading that. You might have the absolute best idea. You might have, the right market, but you're not the right person to lead it. And it's not a knock to that person, but it means that you may need another partner or somebody else who is the right person who actually has the ability to bring that to market. From what I've heard, the right person is there because more often than not, whatever you say that you're starting your company off with, you're going to pivot within the next, year or a couple of years or so. And are you the right person who has the ability to make that pivot when you need to in the right way at the right time?
Yeah, no, and it's always interesting. We sometimes talk about that. There's a custom in some countries. You don't name a baby until they get older.
Sure.
And I sometimes find that with startups, I go, let's reserve naming this company as long as possible because we're still not exactly clear what it is or where it's going. But you bring an unusual perspective from my mind as an angel investor because you work with the bottom line and you look at companies, it's already in focus as you start talking to them. And it's one of the challenges I have found in working with wealthy individuals who want to put their money to work is that they may not have that background. They may not understand the business. They may not understand the market. They may not understand the technology. And that lack of knowledge will often cause them to make an investment that's too emotional or it's too much of a wild card type of a scenario. If they and some may be happy with that. They're going, hey, I'm living vicariously. I'm letting them do all the hard work as the entrepreneur. I'm watching it. I get to talk to all my friends about the fact that I made this investment. But you may not be adding that much value beyond your check.
It hasn't turned into anything yet, right? This is new. So it may turn into something where it goes to absolute zero and it was not necessarily a good investment. It was a good time. So it was my FOI, my fun on investment might have been really high, but my ROI might not be.
Yeah. I'm going to remember FOI. I'm trying to remember.
I got to give that shout out to Sujan Patel. Sujan Patel was the guy who told me FOI.
Okay. Yeah. Because I also need to write that down so I don't use the wrong F when we're talking about that.
Yeah.
But no, and it gets back into, what are you trying to accomplish as an angel investor? And sometimes the affinity alignment between them and the business isn't as high as I would like for it to be. I always tell my clients that the money is the least valuable thing that an investor can bring to the table. I get into weird optimization scenarios like what would be the best investor in the world for your company? Is it Richard Branson or Oprah Winfrey? And they're going, well, why is their money better than anybody else's? I go, it isn't better. It's everything else that they bring to the table. And if I'm going to go out and raise money, I don't want the first person in the door. I want the average person in the door. I want the best person to come to the door. And so, unfortunately, if I brought one of my projects to William, probably not. Karl told me not to take your money. I didn't say that. I said, no, it really does get down into you want to build a long-term relationship. You want everybody to work in harmony. You want your investors to bring more to the table because they can bring so much more. If nothing else, they have their own contacts, their own area of influence. They may not be everything you want them to be. But they may have a best friend or buddy who fits that goal. And ultimately, as you build your company, you'll find that your relationships with people are one of your most valuable assets, both personally and as a business. And when this business is gone, and a lot of people will go through a series of businesses, then these relationships should still be with you. I hate getting to the end of a business cycle. We're burning all the bridges that we're imposing scourge because everybody's unhappy with this kind of situation. But most angel investors I know, they recognize the fact that this is experimental exploratory and they're happy to live the risk that goes with them. So if somebody wants to buy some advertising time, and what would you describe as a top profile customer for?
So we're looking for Shopify store owners spending at least $100,000 a month in advertising and not jerks.
Okay. And I particularly appreciate that last phrase because I think that applies to every relationship.
You should. Yeah.
You should. And how would they get a hold of?
Probably the easiest way is to just go to our website, which is elumynt.com, ELUMYNT.com, and just fill out something form on the website there. But otherwise, if they want to get in touch with me directly, they can check me out on either LinkedIn or Twitter. Twitter is just WMHARRIS 101. So William Harris 101.
Okay. And I always like to give homework assignments to my listeners and watchers. So we're talking about advertising and we're talking about angel investments. We're going to set angel investments aside for the moment. If you're going to go out and buy advertising, ask yourself the question, what is the metric of success that you want to achieve with that advertising that is going to move you towards your milestones? It's going to help you fulfill your mission. And you need to be able to put that metric in a hard, tangible, measurable thing.
Right.
It can't be soft, can't be subjective. It can't be a no when I get there. It needs to be something that you can share with your group and you can share with somebody who's going to do the advertising for you. And you can both look and go, I can do that. Okay. And then from there, then you can get creative and you can do fun and wonderful things on top of that. But yeah, this is really good. I appreciate your being here. I appreciate the two perspectives that you bring up to the table, both as a business person and as a person who's making investments. However carelessly you might describe that. But no, it's all good. So thank you very much.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Okay. And this is it for today's episode of the Motivated Money Podcast. We'll see you at our next episode.
Thank you for listening in to Motivated Money. If you like this or any other episodes, make sure to leave a rating and review of the show. We love to hear your feedback and want to make this the best possible show for you. Also, if you like this episode, make sure you share it with someone you know who is seeking to raise capital. They will appreciate learning what you now know about raising funding. I'll see you on the next episode of Motivated Money.